The Playboy Jazz Festival will once again take up residence at its Hollywood Bowl home of more than 3.5 decades this month on June 14th and 15th. And in the tradition of the festival, Playboy Jazz both crosses genre boundaries and celebrates the multinational and multicultural phenomenon that is this American music form in the 21st century. The 2 consecutive afternoons and evenings of the Playboy Jazz Festival will bring together legendary and solid journeyman jazz artists, as well as showcase rising jazz stars and artists on the jazz periphery. One of the absolute festival highlights this year takes place on Saturday the 14th, when bassist, bandleader, and composer Stanley Clarke and singer Al Jarreau celebrate the artistry and incredible legacy of the late great producer and keyboard virtuoso George Duke. Stanley Clarke says George Duke was a true Renaissance man and a completely original musician.
He actually had mastered like really legitimate stuff, like he produced like a string of hit records for pop singers, and made #1 records, and then at the same time he made jazz records, and then he made, he played funk music, which is completely another thing. And he played fusion music, and then of course he played with Frank Zappa, and then he even dabbled in some film music too. And that's a wide range. It's a wide range, and then also he was a hell of a performer, So he had, he sang, George really created the model of the instrumental singer, the guy that's really an instrumentalist, but he writes music that has to be sung, so the guy sings it, like Patrice Rushen will tell you, George kind of created that model. He was one of the few guys that actually created his own language. Like there's a George Duke way of playing. There's a George Duke way of making a record. There's, he has a thing, and that's a very rare thing. There are a lot of piano players that play good, but there's a few like George, Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, these type of players that actually have an identifiable sound. It's like their thing, and their compositions reflect that. That takes a lot of work, a lot of courage, a lot of, just takes a lot of talent.
Stanley Clarke says calling George Duke prolific is almost an understatement, and he says Duke's remarkable spirit and soul also distinguished him.
George was a guy that, if you had the pleasure of going to his house, he sat behind his big desk, and we used to, affectionately call him Big Daddy, and so if you came into his house and whatever residue of the day you walked in there with, there has never been a person that I've ever seen leave George's presence feeling worse than he did when he first came. He has kind of Buddha-like qualities, he's kind of a guy that, just radiates love and understanding, communication, affinity. He was one of those guys, that had that unique ability to make people feel good naturally. He didn't go out of his way to do it. It just came natural. That resonated with him, so it was beautiful guy.
The Playboy Jazz Festival with returning Master of Ceremonies George Lopez will take place this year at the Hollywood Bowl on Saturday, June 14th and Sunday, June 15th, beginning at 3 p.m. both days. For more information, you can go online to www.playboyjazzfestival.com. With the SoCal scene for KPFK, I'm Jerry O.